Good evening, councillors and members in the public gallery. I will officially open this evening's ordinary council meeting at 7 p.m. Thank you for your attendance this evening. I'd like to remind everyone in the chambers to ensure that comments are respectful to the council and all meeting attendees, including city officers and those in the public gallery. Please note this meeting is being live streamed. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we are meeting, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. Item 3 is announcements from the presiding member. There are nil this evening. Item 4 is attendance. Councillor Sutherland has provided an apology for tonight. Councillor Bull is on leave of absence, and the Deputy Mayor has been approved to attend the meeting via electronic means. All other councillors are present in the chamber this evening. So I'll move on to applications for leave of absence. Firstly, Councillor Sutherland has provided a request in writing for a leave of absence for the dates of 28 January 2025 to 9 March 2025 inclusive. Are there any other councillors who'd like to apply for a leave of absence? No? Can I have a mover and seconder? Move Councillor Latta, seconded Councillor Maleka. And I'm just checking if we've got the Deputy Mayor back on the screen before I take the vote. Okay, thanks. Sorry, we lost you for a second, Deputy Mayor. So I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay, so we'll move on to item 5, disclosures of interest. Councillors, do you have any interest to disclose? Councillor Johnson.
Oh, thank you. I haven't got the item number in front of me, my apologies. I did make a disclosure at the Gender Briefing Forum because a deputation was made on item, my apologies.
14.1.1.
Yeah, you know the one, 14.1.1. A member of Environment House, and a deputation was made on behalf of Environment House. There's an impartiality interest, and I'll stay in the room.
Thank you. Councillor Latta.
Just an impartial interest on 10.5.1.3 Policy Review Grants Program. The grants are available for businesses to apply for, and I own a business in the city.
So what type of interest?
Impartial.
And you'll be staying in the room?
Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Maleka.
Thank you. I have a proximity interest for 10.5.1.4 Policy Review Edible Gardens Policy. I live opposite an edible pocket garden, which is at a park across from my house. So I'll be leaving the room.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Sosowski.
Thank you. I have a declaration on one of the financial reports. Sorry, I've lost the item number. It's the financial reports for the period ending 31st of December 24. Sorry, I've got the correct one. It's 10.2.1. In the attachment, it mentions Watton Skate Park and surrounding facilities. I'm a member of the Morley Windmill Sports Club, and the sports club leases a building at Watton Reserve. It's an impartial interest, and I'll be staying in the room. So just for clarity, it's 10.2.1 financial report for period ending 31 December 24.
Thank you. Any other conflicts, declarations? Councillor Eveson.
Yeah, I've got the same one, so 10.2.1, and I'm also a member of the Morley Windmill Sports Club. It's an impartial declaration. I'll stay in the room. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now we'll move on to public question time. So members of the gallery, I'll first call for questions on items on this evening's agenda, and then I will open to questions on items not on the agenda. Please provide your name and suburb before you ask your question, and keep in mind that you are limited to 3 questions. So may I ask if there are any questions on items on this evening's agenda? Please come forward, Mr. Dyke.
David Dyke, Maylands. Although I've listed the item as 14.1.1, it really refers to the existing situation. Question 1. would the CEO and director increase the cat and fox trapping program in all areas, including cat prohibited areas, as per the increased budget? It will be 5 months or more before the JSCDL membership will be known and City of Bayswater Amendment local cat law reviewed. There has been a noticeable increase in all areas, including cat prohibited lakes, wetlands, swamps, etc.
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the director to respond.
Through the chair, in the current budget, we have $100,000 allocated to managing feral animals in natural areas. That's basically split up between actual trapping and control, some education initiatives, and also the CATIO program. So that is a substantial increase from the previous financial year. So that's allowing us to do more activities in the different areas around the city.
Thank you. Question 2. Would the CEO and director review education program for all cat prohibited areas, as the community is either not aware or completely ignoring them?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, as mentioned, we have got an increased budget this year, which allows us to do more activities. So that is a consideration, and we will undertake further education in that space.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have questions on an item on this evening's agenda? Please come forward.
Harry Bazitas, Naranda. Madam Mayor, my question refers to item 11.1 regarding Robert Thompson Reserve play space renewal. Council is to consider a motion tonight to reclassify Robert Thompson Reserve from neighbourhood to district. Seeing that there would be a probability that a sizable upgrade of facilities to reflect the upgraded classification of this park will expectedly draw more people from a broader catchment area, has any consideration been made or impact study done as to the effect this proposal will have on the residents living in close proximity to the park?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the director to respond.
Through the chair, with the change in classification, it would mean that we have a higher amenity provided at the park. That is subject to council considering it through the annual business planning process in terms of what improvements they want to do there. But in terms of the impact on local residents, we have not done any studies at this point in time regarding what the impact would be.
Okay, so again, to clarify it, this proposal has been put to council and an impact study has not been made on the residents.
Correct.
Yet you're voting on it. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, question 2. Has a plan been formed to mitigate the impact on local residents should there be a major upgrade to the facilities drawing significantly more people to this park?
I'll answer that. No, it hasn't.
It hasn't. Okay, question 3. Will the residents be consulted and involved in planning should this motion be passed tonight with the view of mitigating any adverse impact on their quality of life?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the director to respond.
Through the chair, changing the classification of the reserve does not necessarily mean that the improvements will be carried out straight away. If there is any improvements carried out and the council agrees to do that through the budgeting process, that will be accompanied with some consultation with the local residents and the community to understand what those improvements are and what the community would like to see there as well.
So after the decision is made, the residents will be consulted. I'm trying to clarify this. So the residents will be consulted after the decision's made in the view of mitigating any adverse impact on their quality of life. Have I understood that?
Mr. Bazitas, I think that question, the way that you framed it suggests that there would be adverse impacts and suggests that things are going to happen. The director has just stated that it would be part of the business planning process if there were any improvements made. So it's part of a process. So
Yes.
So I don't think that. I think the response by the director clarifies your question.
No, it doesn't really matter, Mayor, because in the item it states that the district park is expected to have a wider catchment area of 1 to 2 kilometres. So if you're going to have a wider catchment area, you're expecting more people to be there. You can't increase the expected catchment area of people using the park
So,
and
Mr.
not
Bazidis,
expect more people to come here.
Mr. Bazidis, for your question, the director's answered the question.
No, Madam Mayor, he's responded to it. He hasn't answered my question.
So-
because my question clearly
Mr.
asks...
Bazidis, the director has responded and we need to move on. Thank you.
So,
Mr. Bazidis.
no, wait
Mr.
on.
Please.
No,
You've had
don't push a
3
resident
questions.
around. I've come here
Mr.
with
Bazidis,
I've
no
come here
decision.
with a question,
Mr.
a valid
Bazidis,
question, and I
Mr.
expect a valid
Bazidis,
answer,
you're out
not a
of order.
response.
You're out of order if you continue this way.
Well,
Please,
let me
you've
be
had
out of
your-
order,
You've had
but
your
I do have
3
a right to have
questions.
my questions answered.
I'm going to adjourn this meeting. There are other people in the gallery, and I'm going to adjourn this meeting if you do not abide by my ruling that you are out of order. You've had your 3 questions. The director has responded. No decision has been made on this item as such. So, Mr. Bazidis, please take a seat. Mr. Bazidis, please.
I want the record to show that my question was not answered.
Thank you.
I'd like that written in the minutes, please.
Thank you. Is there another question on an item on this evening's agenda? Please come forward, Mr. Smith.
I want to ask a question about the Brearley Lakes. Is that on the agenda?
No, it's not. It'll be, your opportunity will come after. Is there any other questions on items on this evening's agenda?
Harvey Tonkin, Noranda. 10.5.1.2. It's a new policy, designated dog areas. From what I can read, it gives the council the option to define what they would like dog areas to be. My question is, there's a class here, active, sport, yes, playground, no, and they talk about regular organised sporting activities, well-maintained, high-quality turf. Dogs will be on lead. Does this apply to properties that the council doesn't own?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the director.
Thank you, through the chair. It relates to Crown Land, which is managed by the city, and public open space.
So,
Public open space.
so the education department is Crown Land?
Through the mayor, maybe if I can have clarity around the...
Or primary school?
No, so through the chair, our primary schools in the jurisdiction of the Department of Education, so this would not apply to a primary school site.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on an item on this evening's agenda? Please come forward.
Jill Gatorna, resident of Bedford. My question is on proposed street tree removal on Gomery Street, Bedford. I was wondering if it's possible for the developers to consider retaining the native acacia gum tree that is on the property at the front. I've noticed...
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the director.
I've noticed in the agenda The street number I'm referring to is number 39.
Oh, okay. So the agenda, the street number of that property is actually number 45.
Yes, but there is no trees on their property causing a problem. They have put presumably Bayswater have put a new tree in at the front.
Are you talking about property number 45?
No, I'm talking about property number 39, where there's a native gum tree right at the front in the middle.
Can I ask what page you're referring to in the agenda?
Page 178.
I'll just give me one moment while I have a look. So I've just got that item in front of me.
Yes.
So what heading are you it starts with summary, then officer's recommendation, then background. Where are you referring to?
I'm just asking the question if the developers of that property of number 39 Gummery Street would consider retaining the old gum tree.
Okay. I'll just go to the director.
Thank you, through the chair. The item that's being considered by council tonight relates to number 45 Gummery Street, and that's for the request for removal of a verge tree, so not a tree within private property, and at this stage does not relate to a development or a house being built. The 39 Gummery Street that you're referring to, it appears based on page 266 of the agenda, that site has been cleared already, so there's no trees left on that property, and it appears to be
Yes,
a vacant
there is.
site. Within the verge or within the property, if I may clarify?
There's a grass tree on the right-hand side, and in the middle of the cleared property, which has been cleared for well over a year or so, there's the gum tree, a flowering gum tree.
Thank you. Through the chair, it appears that's in the verge, and we have not had a request for that tree to be removed. So that will be retained.
Well, what does number 45 refer to then?
Through the chair, the application is for a box tree that sits on the left-hand side of number 45 Gummery Street.
Across the road?
Through the chair, may be helpful maybe if I just go down to the member of the public and show on a plan.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
This box tree is on the opposite side, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's not on the developed, on the cleared land.
No, this is on number 45. So this is the cleared land at 39 and this one's 45. So it's just this tree here.
Why does it need to be removed?
They're seeking removal of the tree so that they can facilitate a future subdivision.
So,
Oh, right. Okay.
was that all your questions?
Yes, that's fine, thank you.
You're welcome. Is there any other questions on an item on this evening's agenda? If not, I'll move to questions on an item not on the agenda. Please come forward.
Lawrence Butler, Bayswater. On Friday the 13th of December, I came up to the council offices in the afternoon. They were closed. No notice on the door, closing early, no reason why. I contacted one of my councillors, and even they didn't know. However, that councillor was good enough to search around and ring around, and after a while he got back to me. A Christmas party, closing down early. No official notices anywhere.
So, Mr. your question?
Right. The person he contacted apparently made some possibly derogatory remarks about me because I didn't look on my social media. I don't use social media, as most people know, and so does a few other people. The questions are, if councillors are not aware, how can ratepayers be expected to know, as well as others who attended during the afternoon, that these were closed?
Thank you for your question.
I've got two more. How much did this Christmas party cost, including wages and salaries for the ratepayers of Bayswater? Why should ratepayers be paying for parties, especially during working hours?
Thank you for your
question. Any
question.
working party I attended in the past, it will bring your own out of working hours.
Thank you for your question. I will go to the CEO to respond.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. In relation to the first question, the councillors are not aware. It was an operational matter where the office was closed for Christmas Eve or the day before Christmas for a couple of hours in the afternoon. My understanding was that a notice was placed on the door.
It was over a week before Christmas.
Sorry, let's allow the CEO to respond.
Sorry, can I just clarify, are we talking about the Christmas Eve or are you talking about the Christmas party? The staff Christmas party. So that was closed down, which is a normal practice year in, year out. My understanding is that there was a notice on the door. I apologise if that notice wasn't on the door. But in terms of any calls or any customer queries, we still had our after-hours operation in place so that residents' calls could be responded to by the after-hours service.
Do you want to respond?
The other questions in relation to the costs, we have an annual allocation for the costs. I'm not aware off the top of my head in terms of that, but more than happy to provide that. And it is normal practice for councils across many local governments to have these Christmas parties performed during working hours. And it is only, Madam Mayor, for a couple of hours.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any other questions on an item on this evening's agenda? Please come, not on this, please come forward.
Alex Watt, Maylands, and thank you for the opportunity to ask these questions. I did provide them in writing ahead of the time. It's regarding the clearance of the vegetation on Lake Bangana. Okay. So the first question is, given that the clearing of vegetation from the islands in Lake Bangana will result in the destruction of critical habitat for local bird species, turtles and other fauna, has the city considered alternative low ecological impact solutions that would preserve these island habitats while still addressing water quality?
Thank you for your question, Mr. Watt. I'll go to the Director to respond.
Through the chair, those islands, they actually contain tree species that are non-endemic to the area. So basically what we're doing is, with the pruning that's being undertaken, we are going to revegetate those islands. We're going to revegetate those islands with endemic species, so sedges and things like that. Mm-hmm. That will actually create more biodiversity on those islands long term.
Okay. So I take it there's no low impact. So the second question is, the city claims that removing the vegetation on the lake's islands will address water quality issues related to cormorants. Since there are no cormorants inhabiting Lake Bangana, the poor water quality is not caused by these birds, and there's no evidence that cormorants will ever locate to Lake Bangana. Can the city provide any data or studies to support the assumption that removing vegetation will address water quality issues? Now, that might be a bit more detail that you can't answer, of course, but one that you might take on notice.
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the Director to respond.
Through the chair, we have noted that in the past, the cormorants have relocated islands. They've actually moved to other islands, not to Lake Bangana, but with the clearing or the pruning of the vegetation on Lake Brearley, there's the risk that they will move, and we expect them to move to Lake Bangana. So that's why the pruning is also occurring there. There is research that shows that the cormorants do contribute to the nutrient load in the water, in the lakes.
In Brearley, yes?
in Brearley, and wherever they locate, they'll do the same again.
Okay, but can I just ask a supplementary? So it's an assumption that the birds will go to Bangana. So there's no data or studies to indicate that. That's my understanding. Maybe they may.
Through the chair, well, there is no study to say that they will go there, but seeing what's happened previously, they have relocated to other islands, and we expect that they'll most likely relocate to Bangana.
Yeah, I think that was the Narrows Bridge Islands that they relocated to. Yeah. Okay, thank you. And just third question. If experts agree that nutrient runoff from lawns, parks, and based on the Alluvion report, potentially the Maylands Golf Course is the likely and main contributor to the poor water quality of Lake Bangana, can the city provide details of all steps that are currently in place to substantially reduce its use of fertilisers and other lake harmful nutrients on parks and the golf course?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the Director to respond.
Through the chair, the consultant that's been engaged to develop the master plan is basically doing research and working out what the water balance is, so the consultant that's working on the master plan is basically doing research in terms of understanding what the water balance is and where the nutrients are coming from, and there's an understanding where they are coming from. We'll take that information and the city will change its practices to ensure that we don't contribute to the nutrients in the lakes. At the moment, we are reducing the usage of fertilisers in close proximity to the lakes. We understand that that does contribute if we do that, so we are making changes and we'll do further changes once we have the full report from the consultant.
Okay, can I just a quick supplementary to that, please, Mayor? So Alluvium point to that. So if that is contributing, say, to 2/3 of the load of what's getting close of the nutrients, phosphates, that's near collapse of the water system for the lake, wouldn't it be better to take immediate steps or proactive steps to actually just stop fertilising, and so stopping the seepage into groundwater and stopping the runoff through the interconnected drains? Wouldn't it make sense just to do that immediately rather than wait to find out, where you've got a bit of a clue from a consultant to say, could be that?
Thank you, and I'll go to the Director.
Yeah, through the chair, you're correct, and we aren't putting any fertilisers in close proximity to the lakes. So we've made that decision not to do that, and we won't be putting the fertilisers in the parks in the immediate area. Understanding that there's probably a larger catchment there, but we'll wait till we get the full information to understand what the impacts are.
Okay. Thank you for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please come forward, Mr. Smith.
G'day, Mayor and Councillors. My first question is, given a DA is like a contract between the city and the land, and conditions of landscaping are quite often attached to a development approval, what does the city do about enforcing those landscaping conditions?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the Director.
Thank you, through the chair. The city acts on complaint, so if there's a complaint that's received by the city, we undertake compliance action. Depending on the risk, we might take a more conciliatory approach, which is going through a 28, 14 and 7-day letter and through to written direction or prosecution. If it's of higher order risk, then we may proceed to enforcement quicker, but we like to work with landowners in order to get compliance, particularly around landscaping. And a lot of the time it's around education.
Thank you. Does the City of Bayswater have a policy to increase tree canopy?
I'll go to the Director.
Through the chair, we have a strategy to increase the canopy coverage.
Okay. How does the killing of the trees in the island in Lake Brearley, under some sort of misguided tree endemic policy, to do with a site that's totally man-made. How does that policy of denuding the trees there fit in with the council policy of increasing the tree canopy?
So I believe the director just responded that it's a strategy, but I'll go to the director to respond to that question.
Through the chair, the city has a strategy for increasing the canopy coverage. We do that through other means or various means. And one of them is actually planting trees on verges and in other open spaces. So we've got a fairly intensive tree planting program that is being implemented each year across the city.
But if you cut trees down, you're reducing the canopy, aren't you?
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
Any other questions on an item not on this evening's agenda? Please come forward.
Thank you. Georgina Kerr, Bedford. My first question relates to the review of the trees on private land policy. So as you know, the council undertook some consultation before Christmas. Will the public be able to view results of the public consultation before the agenda comes? So I believe it's coming back to the March Ordinary Council meeting. Will the public be able to access the results of that consultation before that agenda is available?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the...
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor. I'm just looking at the manager and she's nodding, so yes, you will be able to review that information or have access to it.
In what format will that be available? Sort of on the website, or do we need to request it?
Yep, through the chair, on Engage Bayswater is where that information will be updated.
Thank you very much. My second question relates to the allowable verge treatments policy. When this came before council, I did ask at the time whether it would be grandfathered. So if there were verges that, so for example, there's one in my neighbourhood that's 100% fake lawn, which is now not an allowed treatment. So now that the policy has been amended to disallow those treatments, is the city planning to engage with landowners where the verge is covered in a disallowed treatment, or is it just for future treatments?
It's just for future treatments.
Thank you.
Any other questions, please come forward.
My name is Paul. I live in Morley. I have a question on page 16.5 regarding the Roe Estate development, where the Chief Executive is recommended to go and get a construction management plan. I want to know if that construction management plan for the development and the management minimisation of impact on the surrounding area will be available to the residents of that area.
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, the recommendation is a recommendation for the West Australian Planning Commission to place the condition on the approval. So therefore they will administer that condition. But the intent of the construction management plan is to reduce impact on the residents. It's unclear at this point whether residents will be receiving a copy of that construction management plan, because it will be up to the determining authority.
Any other questions? Yep, please come forward.
Good evening. Diane Actor, Maylands Lakes. I live on the lakes. Okay. I represent the community as an MCWA admin. And these questions tonight are...
Would you mind just expanding on that acronym so people who don't know what that stands for?
Maylands Clearwater Alliance.
Thank you.
Okay. A number of questions have come up from the community, and these questions are about those that have been raised by the community. Okay, the council held a Maylands Lake Community Consultation meeting on the 12th of December with the understanding that that was to update the community on the progress of the lakes. At the meeting, a lot of the residents that have spoken to us I wasn't present at the meeting, so this is directly from community members asking us to ask you. They didn't understand that on the 20th of January, you were going to begin destruction of the trees on the lakes. So my question to you is, at what date did the city procure, accept quotes, and advise contractors to proceed with the works so that I can understand if you knew well in advance of that meeting and that the community can be, feel as if you gave them adequate time to actually respond to what you were about to do?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the CEO.
Through you, Madam Mayor. I mean, I'll start. I mean, unfortunately, I wasn't at the community consultation meeting on the 12th of December, but I was on the one prior to that in September, and I do recall that it was raised at that meeting in the community forum. And looking at the slides for the meeting on the 12th of December, I also know that the removal of the vegetation on the islands was raised as an agenda item for there. And then in terms of how long have we been looking at this, we've been looking at a number of different strategies to try and improve the water quality at Maylands Lakes. And I can recall so long as probably 10, 12 months ago that we were actually talking about this, along with a number of other strategies and actions to look at trying to improve it. On the actual specific question in terms of when was that actually procured, then I'll probably need to go to the Director just to clarify. I know that quotes were getting sourced, but I'm sure the Director will be able to talk about the procurement process.
Yeah, through the Chair, procurement commenced in July of last year. So that was to go out and just get some prices on what it would cost to do the work. Basically, yeah, it went out end of July, closed in August, and then in October there was an agreement prepared, a draft agreement to be basically signed if we were to go ahead with the works, and that agreement was signed at the end of November, but the order for the works was actually issued about 2 weeks ago. So there was a process in terms of procurement. We follow these processes because that's the process that we use to basically get prices, to understand what they cost, to see if there's a budget, and to make the decision of whether we go ahead with it.
Okay.
And I'll just go to the Director of Community.
Thank you. I was at the December forum and it was raised. And I'll note on the City of Bayswater's Engage Bayswater website in relation to Maylands Lakes, we provide minutes to each of those meetings and the slides. And it is contained within the 5th of September minutes and also the minutes from the December meeting as well, with an explanation of what works would be undertaken too.
And I'm just going to go back to the CEO to add something
Just
further.
through you, Madam Mayor, just for a bit of clarity as well, the city's going out and speaking to a number of consultants and a number of companies, and if I can reflect back over the last 12 months, we've spoken to people on pumps and filtration, nanobubble technology, additional planting, additional water monitoring, additional water treatments. So we're looking at a whole raft of different things that we're going out and talking to people on in terms of trying to source strategies to solve what is a really, really complex problem. So we do follow procurement processes as per the Local Government Act, but we are out there actively talking to a number of companies in relation to strategies as well.
Thank you. I guess the issue that they raised is that that wasn't made clear. So it might have been on the presentation slides, but it wasn't verbalised at the meeting. And so that leads me to my next question, if that's okay. Given that the city appears and have confirmed that they had already secured a date for the works to begin prior to the community consultation, did the city advise the community or the two community groups, Friends of Maylands Lakes and MCWA prior to the December 12th meeting that the works would begin on the 20th of January.
Thank you for your question. Before I defer to the director, I just want to clarify the beginning of your question.
Yeah.
Because I think the beginning of your question said that they agreed on a date for the works to commence.
Yes.
My understanding from the previous response from the director is that there was no agreement for works to commence until about 2 weeks ago. So with that being said, I will go to the director and please correct me if I'm wrong.
That is correct. Going back to November, there were no dates set at that point in time. Basically, an agreement was drafted to say that the works could happen in future at some stage, and we were basically waiting to find the right time to go and do the work. So it wasn't like the agreement had specific dates straight away put in there, and it wasn't that we didn't even talk to anybody in terms of saying that the dates had been set. So it was left to have a bit of movement.
So you put
there.
the date of the 20th of December on the presentation slides, right? So you already knew the date that you were going to, 20th of January, sorry. So you already knew the date at the time of the meeting.
So I'm just going to clarify that because I don't believe that to be the case, but I'll go to the director.
It's not correct. We knew that the works, if they were to be carried out, would be in January, possibly even February, because there's a window of opportunity there when there's no cormorants nesting at the site. But it was also in discussion with the contractor, because the contractor just can't come out whenever we want them to come out. It's also negotiating with them when they're available as well. So I believe at that early stage we didn't have dates locked in. But there was discussion about potentially January and maybe even.
So you're saying it wasn't on the presentation slides?
I don't believe so.
At the meeting?
I might actually defer to the director who was present because our Director of Technical Services wasn't present at that December meeting, neither was our CEO, so I'll go to the director who was actually there.
Thank you, through the chair. The slide stated works will occur in January and February 2025, and that was also reflected in the minutes of that meeting, both accessible via Engage Bayswater.
Okay. So I apologise that it wasn't the 20th. I had spoken to a councillor before and I thought that it was clear from what she had said to me that it was on the slides. And as I said, I wasn't at the meeting. So I just assumed that what she had said to me was how I understood it. Okay, so that still didn't answer the other part of the question, which was, did you advise? Now, you said you knew in July that you were going to do these works. None of us knew about it. Nobody, that you had intention to do the work, even though you didn't know a date, you had intention and you never notified the community. At no point have I been notified as an administration member for Maylands Clearwater Alliance. Nobody else has been contacted in the community that we spoke to when we were delivering the petition.
So just to clarify, the question is?
Yeah, so the question is, why weren't the community notified in advance? If you knew in July, when did you speak to any of the community groups? Did anyone know in advance of that 12th of December meeting that was going to happen? Did you advise Friends of Maylands Lakes? Did you advise MCWA? Did you talk to the community?
Okay, thank you for your question. I'll go to the CEO to...
I think through you, Madam Mayor, just to clarify, as the Director responded, the works were only confirmed just prior to issuing the purchase orders, which was latter. We were looking at this back in July, and as I said previously, even earlier in the year, along with a number of other strategies. So it wasn't firmed up until later. In relation to your comments in terms of why not speaking to the specific community groups, some time ago the city came under some criticism in relation to only talking to one community group within Maylands. And from that point, we actively then reached out to community and listened to what you were saying in terms of holding community forums so that everyone could then be involved. We also put all that information on Engage Bayswater as well. And when we implement things, we actually do letter drops as well. And I have staff actually going out and doing door knocks and letter drops to people, informing them of what we're actually doing. The level of consultation that we are doing on this project is immense. There is not another project within the City of Bayswater that we are currently managing that receives this level of detail, attention and involvement from myself and the executive team. So through you, Madam Mayor, I don't know what else more the City can do in relation to trying appease some of those concerns in terms of not being consulted.
Well, giving us 5 days' notice of something that is really critical to the community is not good enough.
Thank you. Do you have another question?
I do. Okay. The City Environmental Manager presented evidence to the community over 2 years ago that cormorants were not adding significant nutrient loads to the lakes. Why is the City not relying on their own scientific evidence? Where is the more recent, rigorous, unbiased, scientific and quantitative data that the City has collected from our own lakes, instead of relying on just the qualitative data? So some community member went out and saw something between 30 and 300 birds, and that they're on the lakes for only the winter months, but the calculation, does that take that into consideration? Where is that data so that the community can actually see what evidence you have? I mean, up to 1/3, what's the bottom number?
Thank you for your question. I will go to the Director to respond.
Through the Chair, the consultant that's working on the master plan has done some numbers in terms of how much nutrients are expected to come out of the cormorants. Yes, some of the cormorant numbers are based on observations they've observed. Also, they've taken in some information from some local people in terms of numbers, and they've taken the conservative approach in terms of their numbers. So they haven't gone on the high side, they've gone on the low side, and they've done the water balance to work out where the nutrients are coming from through those calculations and their work that they've done. They've come up with approximately 30% is coming from the cormorants into Lake Brearley, as we're talking about the nutrient load. So there has been some numbers done, it has been done through our consultant that's working on the master plan.
Yeah, so, but most of that data is not quantitative data, it's qualitative. So, you know, how can that be your only evidence?
Thank you very much for your questions. Does anyone else have questions? Please come forward.
So Shirley Watt, I live Lake Bungana in Maylands. So I'd like to preface my remarks by saying that I know you are going to say that you consulted Maylands Lakes residents by having those forums, but only in September, I think it was only 56 people attended and only 50 in December. And for such a momentous decision to cut down the vegetation on the islands, you should have actually informed all residents of the Maylands Lakes by letter that the cutting of the trees was being considered. You did not do that.
So, Ms Watt, if you could please ask your question.
Yeah, so my question is, why didn't you inform? So my question is, why then, so the Maylands Lakes master planning process states that there will be community involvement in the different stages of the plan to improve water quality in the lakes. Why then were lakes residents only informed of the clearing of the vegetation on the islands in the lakes during the week before the clearing was to commence? The letter was for information only and did not seek community input or involvement.
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the CEO.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I mean, I'll start. The master planning process and the consultation that's outlined within the master planning process was different to the decision that was made in relation to the pruning of the vegetation on the lakes. And as I've stated before, that came back through the community forums, and it came back through Engage Bayswater, and it came back through the letter drop, all being noted that you've commented in relation to the short time frame on that.
Do you have another question?
Yes. As there is significant opposition to the destruction of the vegetation on the islands, will the City of Bayswater stop the clearing to allow proper community consultation and input into options to improve the water quality in the lakes, which do not involve the destruction of vegetation?
Thank you for your question. I believe that this evening Council will be receiving a petition, and then that will be considered by Council.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Please come forward.
James Miles, Maylands. 12 months ago, the City established a scientific advisory panel to provide advice to the City on the water quality issues affecting the Maylands Lakes. Given the divisive nature of the tree pruning issue, did the City seek advice from this panel in respect to the recent island pruning?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the Director to respond.
Through the Chair, the Scientific Advisory Panel is aware that the City was looking at pruning of the vegetation on those islands.
Did they provide advice about their tree pruning? That was the question.
Through the Chair, I believe they did not provide advice. They didn't actually provide any advice against it either.
Do you have another question?
Yeah. Subsequent to the pruning, on the 24th of January, the City sent out an email with a link to a bit of an explanation on the Engage Bayswater website. And in that web post describes planned works that will include establishing appropriate endemic species on the island, support more diverse habitat, including sedges that will act as natural filters to remove nutrients. Now, my understanding is the City was still developing potential solutions for the water quality issues at the lakes, but this communication sounds like there's already a plan that's been developed that includes sedges around the islands.
So is that the question, whether a plan
Well, yeah, it
has
sounds...
been
It
developed?
doesn't say may, it says will. So what is the plan?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the Director.
Through the Chair, the City for a number of years now has been undertaking some revegetation around the lakes. We'll be doing similar works with the islands where we'll plant sedges and other species in there. Nothing different to what we've already been doing for the last few years. So we're using a similar model, I suppose, in terms of that planting there.
And just to elaborate, is that separate from the master planning scope and works that Alluvium are investigating and designing?
Through the Chair, so we know that revegetation probably will form part of the master plan. Exactly where and how much is still to be determined, but we are working on that through the master planning process. But we do know that re-veg is a part of that solution longer term. We can do the re-veg relatively cheaply, you know, in the context of the overall project, so that's why we're pushing along with it.
Okay, so that revegetation will happen irrespective of what happens with the master plan?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I am Are there any other questions? Please come forward.
Harvey Tonkin, Naranda. Back in November, there was an item come up on the agenda to do with making a footpath a dog on lead. And my understanding was that a public notice was going to put out for people to give input. Can I ask how long that takes?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the director.
Thank you. I will have to take that on notice and come back to you as to whether that has happened or will be happening.
Oh, I've looked at all the public notices. I haven't seen it.
Okay, so it hasn't happened yet, so I'll follow that up.
That's all right. I don't want it to be urgent, but I just want to know. I get fed up with looking on the public notices.
No problem. I'll ask the manager.
I'd just like to have an idea.
Yeah, no, that's not a problem. Through the chair, I'll ask the manager to give you a call tomorrow and give you an indication.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I will now be closing public question time. And councillors, I've been informed that we're having some technical issues with the online, with the live streaming. So I've been asked to move a motion to adjourn the meeting for 10 minutes while we rectify that problem. So I'll be moving to adjourn. Do I have a seconder? Seconded, Councillor Palmer. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Very sorry to the people in the gallery, but we'll just need to adjourn. So you're welcome.